Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Talk about Bitcoin real quick and then talk about the miners. Just give you a reminder. I did do a live stream a few days ago, kind of talk about why the miners are still lagging behind Bitcoin. A lot of people are really disillusioned about how Bitcoin keeps on making all-time highs and miners just still kind of lagging behind. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about what happened last cycle as well, and also talk about the technicals of the miners just in general. But before all that, let's talk about Bitcoin. I really do think that Bitcoin is finding some solidifying support over here around 87,500. And so far, it's been holding horizontal very well. It looks like it wants to probably just keep on gravitating up towards the arc up here, which is going to be a next natural area for it to want to go to. If it ends up breaking down below the horizontal, then you go back to maybe like 81,000. Probably going to be the location where it's going to go, but it doesn't have to. It really looks like it probably wants to just keep gravitating up towards this area over here. The volume is supportive of this kind of corrective move on low volume, and there's still a lot of demand for Bitcoin right now. So I think the next step is probably going to be hitting this arc up here eventually. Maybe by the end of the year we'll hit $100,000 Bitcoin. We'll see. Now, with that said, what is happening with, well, actually, let's look at a higher time frame here. Another support move to say that it's going to go to 100,000 is just look at the weekly. You are having a little bit of a toppy formation over here, where so far you have a little bit of a wick up here, you have a doji over here to start the week. But if you end up having like a little bit of a body over here, I think the next place it's going to gravitating to is going to be this arc up here, which is precisely going to be around 100,000. Maybe 100, 2,000, somewhere around there. The entire uptrend over here is on increasing volume, so I have a feeling that it's probably going to end up keep on getting up there to 100,000. Ultimately, in terms of where the cycle targets could be, I would say that right now with the great market symmetry here on this Gann chart, I would say that it's already kind of taken off in this arc, kind of like it did over here. I would say it probably wants to gravitate up at least to the horizontal line over here, which is going to be around 200,000. It could end short of that. It could end up anywhere around like 128 or 273,000, or it can end up going past further beyond that horizontal line there, around 300,000, precisely 207,000. That's possible, right? But I wouldn't necessarily count on any of these targets. I would have to kind of look at where trend goes. After that, this bull trend probably keep on going for maybe another 6 to 12 months, so we'll see where it takes us. The thing about the miners, though, everybody's kind of all freaking out about the miners. Well, let's look at the miners here real quick. The one that we're really able to look at that has a little bit of a comparison from last cycle to this cycle is Mara. We can look at Mara in terms of what happened after Bitcoin during last cycle. It made an all-time high really around December 2020, right? And during this move here, this correct move over here, basically you have a little bit of overshoot from Mara. And then Mara came back down and corrected just like Bitcoin did, but Bitcoin corrected a lot less, right? Bitcoin corrected probably from like 12,000 to maybe like around 10,000 or so. So maybe a little bit of like 15-20% move, whereas Mara corrected from like 5.5 all the way down to maybe like 1.5, right? So you do 5.5 over 1.5. I can't even think about doing math right now. So you're talking about like really like almost like a 70% downward move, right? From here down to here. Whereas Bitcoin only corrected about 20%. Can you imagine how disillusioned people were back then, right? And then Bitcoin started taking off here last cycle around October 2020. This whole bull trend here really started around October 2020. What did Mara do in October 2020? Absolutely jack squat, right? Like you can see that like Mara did nothing for about 5 weeks after that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like Mara did absolutely nothing for 5 weeks, whereas Bitcoin has already taken off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Like it made a move all the way from like 10,000 all the way to 15,000 with a matter of just 5 weeks, and Mara did absolutely nothing. Until it actually hit a certain point, that's when Mara is actually able to kind of catch up here with 2 additional candles to really make up to get beyond this point over here, right? So that's look like Mara usually lags behind by a few weeks looking at the last cycle. Now, ultimately, we look at the higher time frame, and it's important to take that into consideration because if you look at a higher time frame, I'm going to zoom out here. between the two, bull cycles, the really the bulk of the big giant run, the bulk of the bull cycle between Mara and Bitcoin, it's important to understand that these Bitcoin mining companies, they're not really high debt because they just keep diluting, right? And they keep diluting and diluting, and usually these high growth stocks, which I would probably categorize them to, and also it's not just high growth stock, but they're also small caps as well. So I would categorize them to very similar to like the Russell 2000 WM stocks, as well as categorize them to a little bit more like a high growth, high debt kind of stock, right? Like that's probably what I would characterize these stocks would be. So they're going to do a lot better towards the end of the cycle when things get really euphoric. And I just kind of want to point out like the percentages here too. Like if you just look at from the COVID low here with Mara and Bitcoin, you can see like from the bottom low over here from 4,000 up to about 12,000, you made about a 3x, but Mara made about, from 34 cents up here all the way to like $4 or $5, right? So that made about like a 12x, whereas Bitcoin only really made about a 3x. You have a corrected move about 70% for Mara. You have a corrected move about 20% of Mara during this stage of the correction, right? After that, Mara made from $1.50 all the way up to like 80. Let's see, the top over here is around $83, and that's going to be close to, let's see here, so 1.5 to 83. If I do calculation, let's see, 83 over 1.5. You can see it made like a 55x, right? Whereas Bitcoin really just went from about 10,000 to about 70,000, which is about a 7x. So you can see how Mara has really severely outperformed Bitcoin towards the end of the cycle, but there's a lot of caveats. It just takes a lot longer for Mara to get there during that part of the corrective move, because Bitcoin has already taken off for a few weeks, where Mara is still kind of stuck around this range, right? I think that's probably where we are right now. No guarantees, but just based on the sentiment, just based on the what Bitcoin's kind of doing, I think we're probably at a very, very similar stage. So there's nothing really to like worry about. If you're also looking at Riot, I mean, Riot has certainly underperformed so far in general with Bitcoin, but it's the same thing also happened last cycle when Bitcoin started taking off around October 2020. Riot was doing nothing for a few weeks, and Bitcoin just kind of kept going up, right? Until eventually you're really talking about like starting around mid or late November. That's when Riot really started to kind of do some major catch up here. So there's a little bit of lag. I don't think I'm really that worried about the lag here, although Riot is a little bit underperforming Bitcoin and other miners. So regardless, last cycle, very similar cycle behavior compared to Mara. From here, for Riot, from here around like $2.30 or so, getting all the way up to maybe like $82. That's a 40x. That's a 30 to 40x, right? Again, Bitcoin made a 7x. Riot made around a 30x. So just something to keep in mind here. The other stock that was also around that time with the Bitcoin miners, sorry, I should probably change this instead. The other stock is probably around is Bitfarms. And Bitfarms, very same thing with the corrective move over here. Around December 2020, it really started to go beast mode, right? All the way from like 50 cents all the way to the wick up here is really like $10. And it made that really over a period of like 4 or 5 weeks. So from 50 cents to like $10, that's how much? It's like 20x, right? Bitcoin made a 7x. And then another one that was around at that time was Hut 8. And Hut 8 also is a little bit of a late cycle bloomer. And you would say from that corrective move down here, I would say probably around like December, so around $5 to $6. It may all the way up to like about $80. So I think that's another like 12x when Bitcoin just basically made a 7x, right? So there's a good potential these miners will end up outperforming Bitcoin towards the end of the Bitcoin cycle, especially when it comes to the really, really euphoric stage, right? And you're talking about Bitcoin itself, it still hasn't really started to expand its monthly bullish band. Really, with every single bull cycle, you have like a great bullish band expansion, right? You have a parabolic bull phase, which we haven't really had yet. I think we're starting to have it, but you have a parabolic bull phase that really pulls the upper and lower bullish band up and down, and as a result, it allows the price to go up very, very impulsively, right? That still hasn't happened for Bitcoin. It still just really just hasn't happen quite just yet for Bitcoin. Now, we are having a little bit of Bollinger expansion. I think that most likely price will end up keep on pushing up, probably to at least 100,000, if not 175,000, not 200,000. And the loan Bollinger Band is going to continue to go down. Now, is it going to contract? Like, is it going to expand all the way down to the negatives like it did in previous cycles? I don't know, but but we still hasn't really had that monthly Bollinger Band expansion, kind of like how we had pretty much every single Bitcoin cycle. We probably will have it because we consolidated enough and we also have accumulated enough, just like we did before, that. So I think we probably end up having it, but I just don't know when that's going to come. If you look at the individual Bitcoin miners and seeing how they're doing right now, they are doing okay. They're doing okay because they are all having a pretty reliable bull trend. You have had that November that has been a little bit of a breakout month for all these miners, including CleanSpark here. Now, CleanSpark rising 20-month moving average found support is re-accelerating. I think CleanSpark is going to go up a lot higher. I think that the upper Bollinger Band here around $21 is going to be the magnet. If we don't get it there this month, maybe get there next month or two. Right? I really do think so. Now, same thing. You look at Mara, you can see that the Bollinger Band has been serving as great support, and the 20-month moving average is really serving as pretty good support and rising, trying to push price up higher. It did touch this upper Bollinger Band and didn't really quite go beyond that, which is understandable. Now, Bitfarms is basically the same chart, right? Got close to upper Bollinger Band, wasn't able to quite get there, but it's basically finding support at rising 20. CIFR, it's already found support at rising 20 for like a whole year. It looks like it's ready to like expand the upper and lower Bollinger Band here on the monthly. It looks like it's ready to go. Iron, been finding support here at rising 20, and currently it's looking pretty decent, right? Just not able to kind of bring about the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. Wolf is still way outside the upper Bollinger Band. So if you're wondering why Wolf sometimes can feel like it's underperforming, it's because it's already outperformed for so long, for like 6 months, and it's way outside the upper Bollinger Band. So you're going to have the matter of like gravity to kind of pull it down here a little bit. BTBT, same thing. It actually looks very, very decent. Challenge upper Bollinger Band, not able to go too far too fast. Came back down, and we kind of stuck there. Even Riot had reclaimed the 20-month moving average and got really close to the upper Bollinger Band. HUT, don't even mention, HUT is already ready to go. Like the upper Bollinger Band, lower Bollinger Band already expanded, is getting ready to go, right? So you have all these miners, even Hive. I'm going to talk about Hive last. Same thing, reclaimed the rising 20, right? And then also got rejected at the upper Bollinger Band. All of these are looking like they're ready to go, but they might be lagging behind by a few weeks because of these technicals. They still have their demons that they need to fight. Like, another thing too, with Ichimoku Cloud, you can see like CleanSpark got rejected here, the monthly Ichimoku Cloud again. Mara's still away from the Ichimoku Cloud here on the monthly. Bitfarm, the Ichimoku Cloud still hasn't been formed yet, but you have the leading span A here that is still underneath the immature Ichimoku Cloud, if you will. CIFR, if you had a cloud, I bet it would be over it. So CIFR is leading a little bit more technically. Iron still hasn't really had a cloud form. Wolf, you had the cloud up here, right? So all of these miners are about the same. You don't really have a cloud for cores. BTBT cloud's all the way up here. Riot, the cloud's all the way up here. HUT, the cloud is getting closer and closer, but that's going to be resistance coming up soon. Hive, they have a cloud up here, right? Pretty much all the miners look very similar. Now, the ones that are closest to the cloud is going to be CleanSpark, and it's going to be potentially CIFR is already kind of potentially inside the cloud, right? And HUT 8, like these are going to be a little bit closer to cloud, but they're also, HUT may be also a little bit overextended. I think CleanSpark has actually already done its corrective movement up, so it might be ready to pierce the cloud here soon by the end of 2024. If you're also looking at a lower time frame, it's also trying to battle some of these lower time frame resistance, right? It's trying to reclaim the cloud here with CleanSpark. Got rejected the cloud. Right now on Monday, it kind of looks like it's kind of falling underneath the cloud here a little bit. Mara, same thing, push up off the cloud, has a little bit of gap down here to close around, I would say around, let's see here, the high is around 1960. Most likely the gap's going to end up closing this week because they just want to push the gap and just want to close it. That's what the market makers want to do. But it's trying to re-challenge the cloud here. Initially last week it did close above the cloud, right? Bitfarms closed inside the cloud last week. So far this week's trying to open back underneath the cloud here. Maybe it's just a wick, I don't know. CIFR is already way above, right? I told you CIFR's outperforming. Iron's way above, right? Wolf is way above. All of these are really outperforming, right? Even Cores hasn't really had, the weekly Ichimoku Club is already way above. BTBT, way above it. Riot, trying to re-challenge it, right? So you see a theme here. Some of those that are lagging behind are CleanSpark, Mara, Bitfarms, and also Riot. They're still kind of stuck at the cloud or trying to push for the cloud somehow. HUD8 already pushed through it, right? Hive kind of already pushed through it, but you're trying to do a little bit of backtest here in the cloud and the tank in here. So a lot of these miners are just kind of working out their technicals. If you're talking about the other indicator that's pretty important is the Boomerang support band. And together I'm going to pull this, not just Boomerang support band, but also pull the 20 and the 50 here. I'm going to go through them one at a time here. CleanSpark, what you're seeing here is it basically kind of reclaimed the 50, right? It reclaimed the 20 here, or the Boomerang support band here. And it looks like it pushed for 50, basically just kind of had a little bit of backtest here at the wick. So far in this week, it looks like we're opening. We're also going to try to do a little bit of backtest here at rising 50. Rising 50 is good because if it's rising, it's probably not going to be serving as very bad. Oh, it's going to serve as very bad resistance. It's probably going to serve as pretty good support. So we'll see, right? But Mara, you did have a little bit of a bearish cross here, don't get me wrong, right? 50 over 50 is over 20, but 20 is also looking like it's slowing down here in terms of its negative slope. So that I'm not really too worried about it. Again, Mara, same thing. That's why these stocks are still stuck, right? You had a little bit of a bearish cross here, which doesn't mean anything. It's probably delayed indicator anyway at this stage of the cycle. But you're also getting about the 20 and 50, right? Maybe it's going to come back down close to the gap. Maybe even it's going to backtest the 50 here around 19.44. Who knows, right? Bitfarms trying to get through 50, unable to. Coming back down, test the 20, backtest the Boomerang support band. No big deal, right? CIFR is already out over all this. Iron's already over all this. Wolf is already over all this. Cores is like, they don't even have 50 to 100 yet, but it's already way over the 20. BTBT reclaiming the 20 here beautifully. Reclaiming Boomerang support band here beautifully. And looks like it's got a full bull trend here. Riot, what is Riot doing? Well, Riot actually also have reclaimed all of these moving averages. The only thing about Riot is lagging because 20, which is also part of the Boomerang support band, is still underneath 50 and 100. But all these has been reclaimed, right? HUD8, don't even mention it. It's already got a full bull trend, right? Hive, don't even mention it. It's actually looking like it's almost got a full bull trend. It's above all these moving averages, right? So all of these stocks are doing what they need to do from a technical standpoint, and they're probably going to do just fine. I'm not really that worried about them. That's the message, and I think whenever they end up going, if Bitcoin is able to continue have its bull trend, I think that these miners are going to do fine. If you're talking about the Fibonacci levels, again, all these miners are very, very similar in terms of what they're battling. They're either battling either like already about the 0.5 and trying to get to 0.618, or they're about the 0.618 and trying to battle 0.786. Once the 0.786 is broken, they run, right? That's generally how all these stocks are behaving. CleanSpark reclaimed the 0.618. Mara, let's see here, from this high here to this low down here. Mara, what is it doing? Well, it's trying to reclaim the 0.618, right? It's it's already reclaimed 0.5 very beautifully. It's trying to reclaim 0.618, right? Bitfarms, what is it trying to do? Let's see. I'm going to use the all-time high here to all-time low here. Reclaim the 0.5, trying to reclaim the 0.618, right? CIFR, already reclaiming 0.618, trying to reclaim 0.786. If it's able to break about the 0.786, then lights out, right? Iron, reclaim 0.618, trying to reclaim the 0.786, right? If it's able to, then lights up. Wolf is having a little bit of a lagging behind here, is trying to break the 0.618, right? I don't really have a fit level for cores, but BTBT, trying to reclaim 0.5, trying to get to 0.618, right? Riot is lagging behind in terms of Fibonacci sequence. Riot is one of those that is still lagging behind because it's trying to reclaim 0.382 and it got rejected by 0.5, right? HUD's doing pretty good right now. HUD is already about the 0.5, trying to challenge the 0.618. You see the theme here, right? And then finally you have Hive. Hive is a little bit lagging behind. I'm going to use log fibs here. A little bit lagging behind is trying to attack the 0.382. So all these are basically having some behavior where they're trying to figure out their technicals, they're trying to push through, but these are all turning very positive. I think they're just going to lag behind Bitcoin here by a few weeks, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. If they lag behind Bitcoin, eventually I think they're going to catch up, right? I'm not that worried right now, because one big thing is during last cycle, whenever you really truly had a big out, you have IWM do extremely well. Right now, IWM had this big giant wick over here, big giant rejection over here, but it's still finding support at 0.786. You look at it weekly, it basically broke the 0.786 and it's basically kind of doing a little bit of a back test here, right? This is a pretty bullish look to me. Basically, you have a break out a very important resistance zone, you break it up, and now it's serving as support. So this is a pretty bullish look to it as far as I'm concerned. I'm not really worried about the miners, because Bitcoin is doing some price exploration. IWM looks like it wants to break out, but you're going to have some push and pull here, right? So this is going to serve as a little bit of a negative force for the miners. Even the miners themselves, they are having a little bit of a demon to try to fight all with themselves as well, because they are still trying to figure out their technicals, and they might be lagging behind Bitcoin by a few weeks, and it's no big deal. I just showed you last cycle it did the same thing, so I'm not really that worried about them. With that said, I do have a lot of exposure to other, Bitcoin or crypto proxies. I also have a lot of exposure to crypto in general. So yeah, if the miners don't work out, if I end up missing the cycle for whatever reason, I still have a hedge. I still have others, but I think they're probably going to do just fine if you give them enough time to work out their technicals and do what they have to do. Anyway, just want to share my thoughts here real quick. Thank you. Take care. Bye.